It is that time of the year, the most wonderful time of the year, as some might say.
Yeah.
It is the holiday season, and we are back with a holiday gift guide that we've put together to cover several different categories, not genres of games, but cover categories of maybe gamers.
Yeah, this is for the gamer in your life. If you're a gamer and want to bring other people into gaming, or if you are married to, father of, son of somebody in your life, games, and you have no idea what to get them, watch this video.
I've got one more. If you're a gamer, get yourself a gift. You deserve it.
You do deserve it.
In fact, we said this was a top 10. There's probably more than 10. That's our special gift to you. But we're going to start with not a category of gamer, but a category of gift. And that is the stocking stuffer. This is the one everyone likes to hear about every year because it's the easy thing to pick up. They're generally pretty cheap.
Yep. Small.
And like I said, you can put them in a stocking. And speaking of stocking stuffers, we've got an amazing collection of game promos over on the MVM Season 5 crowdfunding campaign over on GameFound. Please come over there, give us the gift of your support, and in return, we'll give you the gift of amazing game promos. We've got some for Everdell, Earth, Massive Darkness 2, Inventors of the South Tigris. That's just to name a few, and we will be revealing more throughout the campaign. So if you could please come check out our campaign over on GameFound. Give whatever support you can. We really appreciate it. And in return, you can get some amazing game promos.
Yeah, and we chose games that we think offer a lot of game for what you're getting in the box. And the first one on this list is Trio. Now, you may have heard people, if you're in the gaming circles, talking about the game Nana.
That's me.
Which was a really cool matching game that came out of Japan. This is the English version. The company took that, they've redone the artwork and the theme a little bit, re-released it as the game Trio. But all of the fun of that game is still there. And this is a game that we've probably combined played over 50 times.
Oh.
If probably more.
I would say, I think I picked up Nana last year, but Trio came out this year. Nana, probably the most game I've played in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
Multiple times. Maybe Veil of Eternity. Side note, get that too. But Nana, or Trio as it's called here, is a memory game. Don't turn off the video if you don't like memory games. This is the best memory game ever made, in a lot of our opinions. You're putting cards out on the table like you would in a memory game, but you have the cards in your hands too. And on your turn, you can flip the cards over in the middle. That's one thing you could do. Everyone gets that information. Or you could say, hey, Ryan, show me your lowest. Or I could say, Ryan, show me your highest card. You're trying to collect on your turn a set of 3 of the same number. The really cool thing is you can win by getting 3 sets throughout the game, or you can get 2 sets that equal 7. So if I get a set of 5s and a set of 2s exact, or a set of 9s and a set of 2s, they mathematically equal 7, I would win. Or finally, if you get the set of 7s, which is in the middle of your hand, and since you have to ask for your lowest and highest, usually everyone's kind of working towards a 7. So it's generally going to be the last thing that comes out, but you never know because the cards can come out in wild order.
They can. And you can call this a deduction game because it does have some light deduction elements too, because you're not just matching, you're also looking at, well, David asked for, lowest. Does that mean his lowest is a 2 or 3?
That's
or
true.
Trying to guess what maybe other people have in their hands.
I was going to call you out, but I agree.
A little bit. I'll
let it go.
Lightly call it that.
I'll allow it.
All right, and the next one I'm going to let David talk about because he's played this a bunch more, but it's called Seaside. And this is one that actually comes in its own bag. So you could put the bag in the bag, or you could just hang this one out for Christmas morning.
If we did this YouTube thing a lot, which we do, we'd have the bag right here. I can see it right over there. We should have picked it up. We don't. Okay. It is literally just a bag of wooden tokens. And the beautiful thing about this game is that's the setup. Drop the bag up, you're ready to go. The teardown is put all the chips back in the bag, you're done. But the game is you're basically pulling a chip out of the bag and deciding what to do with it because both sides of the chip have different powers. And they're either typically going into sort of the ocean area or into your play space. And there's different icons that will trigger different things where you can collect more. At the end of the game, which is when the bag's out of chips, you just stack up all your chips. And this is probably the coolest thing. Every time I teach it, everyone's like, oh, that's cool. You just stack them up, everyone slides their chip stack in. Whoever has the highest obviously has the most. They win the game.
And then you just put them all back in the bag.
Yeah.
So it's simple.
This is a game, and I would say Trio/Nana. I don't usually would say everyone could have these games in your collection. These games, I
Yeah.
These are borderline. Everyone could have these in a collection. If you like fun, if you like games at all, they're cheap. These are really easy games to have. And in the case of Seaside, putting that in the stocking, perfect thing to go down in the bottom of the stocking. You could knock someone out with that thing.
All right, so we're going to move on from stocking stuffers to our next category. This is what we're calling party games. These are games that are great to bring to a party, to bring to for family members that host parties. Like, these are games that we think you can play with any kind of variety or combination of people. To an extent, they need to be old enough to play games.
That's true. That's true. They could watch.
But the first one is, I picked this because this is one of my personal favorite games of the year. That's Things and Rings.
Yeah.
This game is a ton of fun. It feels a little Dr. Seussy. You have all these like cards that
feels very Dr.
Very
Seussy.
Dr. Seussy. The cover has all these rings, but the idea is these rings represent different parts of a card, different parts of a word. They might be, well, if it's in this circle, it has to do with the makeup of the word, like how many letters it is or what it starts with. Or if it's in this circle, maybe it has to do with where the object might exist in real life. And by the time you're done with it, you've got this like Venn diagram, and everyone's playing cards into these different areas of the Venn diagram, saying, well, maybe it's both, it starts with a vowel and it's in the house, so it goes in this category. And it's a guessing game where everyone is trying to guess it, but man, it's so much fun.
Yeah, you are trying, most of the players are trying to deduce what the different rings represent. And the person in charge kind of knows all that and is telling them if they're placing the cards in the right places. It is a really interesting game. It takes a couple rounds. You need to have someone who's played it.
Right, it helps to have somebody who's, or at least has watched a video.
To manage it. But it is a really, really fun and interesting game.
Well, and you know my favorite part about it is you don't need to actually ever guess the thing, because that could take forever. You could just kind of have an idea of what it is. You just have to get rid of all your cards and place them in the right places. So it has all the fun of that deduction of guessing what the code word is without ever really needing to exactly know it. And that reveal of like, you might not have even known it, but you were putting all these cards that had an M. And you're like, oh, it was the M, okay. It's a cool
that
moment.
one hopefully would be pretty easy to see after a while.
Might be.
But yeah, the next one is also circular in nature. This one is Hamster Roll. Hamster Roll is a game, I believe it's been out for a bit, maybe overseas, but 25th Century brought it over here. This game, again, also we should have had this on the table. It's a big wooden wheel that has these sort of dividers in it of different sizes and shapes, but then it also has a bunch of wild different blocks of incredibly different sizes and shapes. And the first player puts in between two of the dividers. The next player has to put in a piece either there or in the next space or in any space after that in one direction, because the wheel is going to roll in one direction. So when you set this up, you're going to want to set it down on one end of the table to give it space to roll the other way. And on your turn, if you put a piece in there and it rolls and other pieces fall out, or if you knock pieces out, you have to take those pieces. So this is definitely a party game in the vein of, if you like Jenga, this is a much better and more fun and
more
unique, more exciting version of that same sort of experience, because you're placing things in, which is pretty easy to do, but this whole thing rolling down the table is really tense.
It's cool to watch. And we had one more for party game that we wanted to talk about. This is also from 25th Century Games. Actually, they do a lot of cool party games and card games. This is Green Team Wins Holiday Edition. Now, Green Team Wins is a game that we've talked about, recommended in the past for being fun at parties, because it's a huge party game. It can play a ton of players, and it's very, very simple to play. You literally just have a whiteboard and you're answering a question. And that's it. So anybody, as long as you can write, anybody can play this game. But the key is you're trying to write down the same answer as the majority of people. So when you flip, if you're with the majority, if everybody answers, they like hot dogs better than hamburgers, and you said hot dogs, then you win some points.
And you're on the green team.
And what they've done for this is they have a holiday-specific version of the game that's kind of based around the holidays. So just that already just makes it the perfect game to bring to mom and dad's or aunt and uncle or wherever you go for your holiday parties. It would fit right in.
And I think it is centered around the Christmas time holiday parties. I don't think Arbor Day is involved. Or
I mean,
anything
it's
like that,
it's definitely predominantly Christmas, but I mean, they say holidays, so
Yes.
I mean, I haven't seen all the cards.
There's ivy and
Sure.
and mistletoe around the box, so I assume that's the case. We're ready for Family Gateway. That's the next category we came up with. These are for family, but they're also sort of gateway games that could be
Lighter
played
games, easier to learn
with
games.
newer gamers. The first one I want to talk about, we have talked about on the channel, and that is Bomb Busters. Bomb Busters is a deduction game. It is a cooperative deduction game where you're trying to defuse a bomb. It's got a really adorable look to it. It's kind of cartoony. If that turns you off, do give the game a try anyway, because you just have all of these wires in front of you, and they're numbered in front of you. No one else knows what your numbers are. They have their own numbers. And on your turn, these are randomly given out at the beginning. On your turn, you're going to another player and saying, is this one a 7? Because you have all these little tiles, and if it is a 7, they'll reveal it, that it's a 7. And then they take one of their own, hopefully, they should have a 7 themselves, they reveal a 7. You've cut one of the 7 wires. Every number, and I want to say it's like 1 to 12,
It's
maybe.
based on player count, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's the numbers, though, I think go 1 to 12, and you're trying to cut all the wires to defuse the bomb. Plus, it's kind of kind of a campaign game. There's all these new rules that get injected over all these little boxes you can open up that change the game wildly to where, oh, now you've got yellow wires and you've got to cut a yellow wire. What number is the yellow wire? We're not exactly sure, but it's one of these 2 numbers, so you have to deduce that. Now there's a red wire. Don't cut the red wire because you'll lose the game immediately.
And somebody will.
And someone has the
Somebody
red wire.
will cut the red wire.
Yeah, yeah. Someone will go, oh, let me just randomly pick that number using no deduction, and then the rest of the table will say, what are you doing?
That is the fun of the game, though. You got to lean into that.
Yes.
Because especially if you're playing with family members, this is a great one to play with mom and dad or whoever, and just watch the chaos. as
Anyone
they cut
can
the
play
red
this
wires.
game. I hesitate to describe it in the way that I'm about to because I don't want to turn anyone off. But the gist of what you do on your turn almost feels like Go Fish because you're just going, is this? But just remember, you are trying to use deduction, and there is a lot of deduction that can be used in this game because people order their tiles from low to high. So once you get one of theirs revealed, and everyone starts by revealing one of their numbers, you can kind of sense, oh, they've got a lot of low ones or a lot of high ones.
It's like Go Fish, but if you get it wrong too many times, everyone blows up.
Yeah.
So think about that. Like Go Fish,
that's like
but you
how Go
can't
Fish
just
is.
guess anything.
I mean, we blow up in Go Fish the way we played in my family anyway.
And we do have another one that we think is great for families, more of a gateway game. It's called Skyrise. And this game is appealing, I think, to people for 2 major reasons. One, the production of this game is incredible. Anybody that looks at this game is going to be like, wow, that is...
Even the standard version.
Right, even there's a standard and a deluxe, and both look fantastic, although, of course, the deluxe is going to look a little more deluxe and a little fancier.
Hence the name.
This is a game. It's cool to play. It's cool to look at, but it's fun to play. And I hesitate to say this because I don't want to turn people off. But if you're a family that plays Monopoly, it's very easy to say, play this instead. It's similar in theme in that you're taking over these different lots, you're building these buildings in there. So I don't want to say it's like that.
A little bit. I'm going to step in.
That's the hook I would use to bring my family in.
That's fair.
That's the hook I would draw them in with.
It's the opposite of a hook that I would use for board gamers
Sure,
to tell them to try it. It is nothing
why
like
I hesitate.
Monopoly in terms of gameplay.
Right.
This is a very simple, streamlined bidding game where you're actually bidding with the buildings that you're putting out. You've got buildings in front of you, and on the bottoms of them are numbers. I have some numbers. Ryan has some numbers. We all have different numbers that escalate, in different ways. And there's short buildings, there's medium, and there's tall buildings. And if you bid high and no one else wants to bid, then that building stays out there, and all of the other buildings that people placed in the bidding process, which are literally bid on the board, are taken back. So you're kind of like maneuvering around this board with your bids, and then if you're the highest bid, you flip that over and it stays as a building that you've built in a sector. And then there's all sorts of different scoring opportunities like, oh, I built a lot in this sector. That's what I wanted to do, or things like that.
Yeah, and the fun of it for me is that whole aspect of like, well, everyone's trying to take the spot that you want. Exactly. Like, I can't believe that you took the spot that I was fighting. Like, it's got a lot of fun, dynamic moments.
Yeah, the maneuvering is really, really fun. And if you want to see it played, Kira and I actually played it during a live stream on the channel, so go check that out.
All right, let's go on to the next category. I got to oh yeah, that's right, 2-player games. We wanted to talk about 2-player games. I know a lot of people are always looking for something to play with their significant other, to play with your kids, or even to play with a parent or whatever.
Or your one friend that you have because you have no others.
Or you know what? If you're doing a holiday gift exchange and you want to get your friend a game that they're going to have to come back and play with you, it's like a win-win.
It's a little selfish, but I endorse it.
But these are two games that we think are great for two players. And the first one is Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. This is a re-implementation of Seven Wonders Duel, which was a hugely popular game, one of our favorite two-player games.
I mean, it's a great game.
Still is, although for me, I think that this one replaces it. Number one, because I love Lord of the Rings. I love what they've done. They've updated the game. They've streamlined it a little bit. They've given you some other cool things to do, like the ring race, chasing the party as they try to get to Mount Doom, which is a really cool version.
Oh, yeah.
The combat is now done on a board, and you're actually moving troops around a map of Middle-earth. So all this stuff that really leans into that love of Lord of the Rings, which I have.
Yeah, the win conditions are a lot cooler, definitely a lot more thematic. I would also say the game is, in many ways, streamlined in some ways, and in other ways, a little bit more interesting. And I don't mean to say the more complex, but like what you said with the map and how you're battling there is more interesting. I, too, would say this kind of replaces it. If you're not a fan of Lord of the Rings,
Sure.
then maybe not. With that said, Emily's played it and she liked it a lot, and she's not a fan of Lord of the Rings.
You hesitate to say that because we're going to get some comments.
I mean, she got some comments when we did our video, that's for sure. But yeah, she's not yet. Maybe she's a latent fan of Lord of the Rings. It's going to happen.
I love Lord of the Rings, and I'm very excited to play this with my kid when he's a little older too, because he's growing up to be a big Lord of the Rings fan.
It's a great game, and if you, either this or the original Seven Wonders Duel, get it and play it. Speaking of Duel, that's the other two-player game we have, and this is on the lighter side. This is more on the family side of two players. This is King of Tokyo Duel. King of Tokyo has been around forever. There's been a two-player variant you could play. It's better than you might think, that one, but this is the two-player experience that I think King of Tokyo fans have been waiting for.
Yeah.
It's got that tug of war because you've got these two tracks that you're fighting over, which is like fame and destruction, and you need to get one of them all the way at the end, or both of them kind of halfway to your end on the tug of war to win. There's a few different win conditions, but it's just kind of a back and forth. But it's got all the things you'd expect from King of Tokyo. You're rolling the dice, you're saving some, you're re-rolling some, you're getting power cards and using them. And
you're playing as giant monsters. A ton of giant monsters.
I mean, it is also still King of Tokyo. So yes, there's giant monsters involved. Really good little game, and both of those games, I don't know what the price points are, but they're pretty low. Yeah. They're not.
No, they're not. High. They're not high at all. They're great to get people into games. Like King of Tokyo Duel is so easy to learn. It's Yahtzee basically. So if you can learn Yahtzee, I mean, more complicated, of course.
A little bit.
But if you can teach Yahtzee, you can teach this to your gamer friends.
And it's a better game. It's going to be more engaging than Yahtzee to any child that you play with because again, giant monsters. Yeah. The next one is the board gamer.
Yes, this is
the gamer.
What many of you have waited for. I want to say this is. Think of this as, a gift for yourself, like we said earlier. Or if you do have a gamer in your life, go just sneak a peek in their gaming collection. Make sure they don't have these.
Yeah, and good news is, if they alphabetize their games, you can just look at the beginning for this one.
It's true. The first one I want to bring up is Arcs. And this is it's the talk of the year. I'll be honest. Like, everyone is talking about this game. If you have somebody in your life who is a gamer, who's involved in the gaming hobby, they've definitely heard their friends talking about Arcs. They've seen posts about Arcs.
They may have played it.
They may have even played it at a gaming event. If they don't already own it, this is one that I think any gamer this year would be happy to have. It's on a lot of gaming lists already as #1 game of the year. So I think if somebody doesn't own this is almost like a sure bet of they're going to open and go, oh, cool. Either they were already looking forward to it, they know about it. I mean, it's a great game in and of itself.
Yeah, they at least wanted to try it.
Right.
Everyone's like, well, we kind of all have to check off Arcs to see whether we like it or not this year.
And it's from Letter Games, who did Root, which is a really popular game. Like,
they've got a decent track record.
They have a really great track record, and for me, this is my favorite of their games.
Yeah, it's a bit. I have to admit, I have not played it yet. So I do have a copy, though. So those of you who are trying to send me gifts, don't bother getting me Arcs. We have a copy right here. The last game we want to talk about is also for the board gamer in your life, but I'm going to caveat this. This is for the campaign adventurer board gamer in your life. So if you have people in your life that played, things like a Gloomhaven or an Agamonia or those big campaign adventure games, this one is Tidal Blades, Rise of the Unfolders, or as some people call it, Tidal Blades 2 or Part 2. It's very different than the original Tidal Blades, but
Very.
this is a gorgeous, gorgeous, has Mr. Cuddington art. In fact, Mr. Cuddington, which is a team, by the way, a husband-wife team, they created the whole universe.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's there's a whole world book.
Yeah, there's map books. This is one of those games you're going to have miniatures. Well, depending on what version of the game you get, there's standees as well. But I recommend the miniatures version. But you open up these map books and you play these tactical scenarios. But the cool thing is, in my opinion, the system that players use in front of them, the player board includes this giant sort of like grid where you're going to be playing your cards. And the way the grid fires off as you take your actions and play your cards is a really, really interesting way to control a game like that.
Yeah, and the way that the map books come together, it's so much easier than trying to find tiles. But there's multiple books, and you position them out, and like you might be in some situations where this page is all the buildings, and then you open it up, and now you get to see inside the buildings because you moved into them, and
they fit together.
And they fit together in a really nice way. It is a streamlined campaign game. I don't think this is a game that's going to require an hour of setup before every game, which those games are great too. I just don't have time for that kind of investment.
Yeah.
And Tidal Blades is so much easier. I had the chance to play the first 2 missions, and it's a lot of fun, and it flows very easily. So this is one too. If you are, on the fence about campaign games, or you have people
this
in your
might
life
be a
that
good
love,
entry point to campaign games.
Yeah, I would say so. Plus, it's just so gorgeous to look at.
Yeah,
that's easy.
The world they've created is really, really cool. Like, you do want to dive in, well, no pun intended, to the world a little bit more. There's a lot of water involved in case you don't know the game. But yeah, they have this. This is not like widely available, so you're not going to find this game on like retail shelves out at stores. But you can go to a few different places. If you go to their campaign page and follow their pledge manager, they left a trail of breadcrumbs that will lead you to the All Play website, which is a partner of theirs that's fulfilling it, where you can get just about anything that was available in the campaign, barring maybe some exclusives that they might have had. But it is also available on Amazon as well.
Which is much easier.
Check that out. Yeah. In fact, all of these games, we didn't check every single one.
No, they're all readily available.
All of them should be pretty available.
Pretty available.
I did check Hamster Roll on Amazon, and there was one left.
Okay.
So if you're watching this and you go and you see that one left,
though I think you can get that on 25th Century Direct as well. So
for sure. But that is our holiday gift guide for 2024. Let us know what you think of that list. Let us know if you thought, oh, this would have been a good gift too, especially if it's a stocking stuffer, because I think you can't get enough of those.
Just shove a bunch of games in the stockings.
In fact, I'll give a shout out to one right now that was on our last year's holiday gift guide. How dare you?
Oh, how dare you? Still great.
If you don't have How Dare You, how dare you? Like, get it, put it in your own stocking. It is a really great game.
It really is.
The box art, it's a little weird. But definitely get that game. But let us know what you think down in the comments below. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.